All right, so welcome to Mothers Illuminated. We're here with Megan today, and she owns a marketing agency. So tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, and kind of how you got there.
Oh, well, the got there is a big story. So,
We
um,
got time, don't worry.
okay, perfect. So yeah, I have a marketing agency. I live in a mountain town, Golden, British Columbia, and we serve clients from all across Canada. So primarily an online business, like many, but we do travel to
Mhm.
do content captures and to do one-on-one sessions with our clients and everything like that. But we primarily serve clients who have been in business for 5+ years who have kind of come and gone in the marketing space where they've been consistent for like a month, and they're not consistent, they're not doing
Yeah,
emails, they want to grow. So they've been in business for a while. They recognize the value of marketing, but they just haven't pulled the quote unquote trigger. So that's who we serve.
yeah, that's awesome, first of all. And I think a lot of people they get to that point where they realize that they need marketing to grow and they try to do all these different things and they don't really know what to look at or what to do with all of that. So marketing is a very specific skill. So how did you get to where you are? We'd love to hear that story.
Okay, I love sharing my story. I think that it's super fun, and I so I went to school for GIS and urban planning. So I started in like the map making space. I was a
Yeah.
cartographer. And when I went to school, it was, going to be this really creative career where I'd be able to
Hmm.
create cool subdivisions and create cool maps. And then I started working and it was in oil and gas and I was drawing pipeline maps,
Yeah.
literally just drawing pipeline maps. And I was like, this isn't working for me. But at the time,
Hmm.
I was really, really interested in fitness. I was working out like every single day, all day, basically. So I went and got my booty bar certification from Tracy Mallet, who full circle is now a client, which is super cool. But did my certificate with that and then opened up a studio. And because I opened up the studio, the Pilates studio, when my kid was, I was still baby wearing and was baby wearing him and running my business, I learned quickly how to market. I
Hmm.
learned that the key component of great marketing is all about community. That was all it was about. It's just community, 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 and the ripple effect that creates. So a lot of the people who were taking our classes were like, "Can you teach me how to open my own studio? Can you teach me how to have a business?" And I was like, I don't know, like maybe. But
Yeah.
but what I did was created this course. So this was 10 years ago. So this was before online courses were like a really big thing, and
Hmm.
created a course, put together a platform that could host the course. So I hired a coder to do that. And then eventually people started to ask us to buy that. So
Hmm.
we marketed that product, we sold that product, then I sold my studio. Um,
Hmm.
and I just kept traveling to help people with their businesses and how to market their businesses because business owners are amazing, but sometimes they get in their own head and they're like, why am I
Hmm.
not getting customers? And there's a few, secret things that you can do that aren't very secret. But so
Yeah.
that's the evolution. COVID
Hmm.
hit, um,
Hmm.
and obviously a lot of business owners had to shut down. They really did not have a choice here in Canada. It was quite aggressive. And
Hmm.
I had to pivot. And instead of traveling and helping people start their businesses and grow their marketing, um, I ended up working with restaurants locally and
Oh.
yeah, focused energy while they were closed on capturing their content so when they could reopen, they'd have this content and be able to stay afloat. So there I was on site again, like boots to the ground, doing all the work. We lost all of our team. We had 12 people. I
Oh
had to
my gosh.
and it was just me. And now we have a very small team. There's under 5 of us, and it's
Yeah.
wonderful and it's great. And yeah, that's how I started. So I started with Pilates, and then I evolved into traveling for marketing and then
Mhm.
evolved to like boots on the ground for restaurants, charging clients like $100 for a month, which was crazy, but
Yeah.
had to do
Do
it.
what
And
you
then
got to do. Yeah.
do what you got to do. And then, in I don't know what year it was, 3 years ago, I moved to the mountains. So as a city
Mhm.
girl through and through, moved to the mountains in a tiny home and just ran my business from here again, doing what I had to do. And
That's
then,
awesome.
yeah, it's been a
I-
journey, a really, really fun journey. I love it.
yeah. I was going to say that I love that progression too, because I think a lot of times, especially in, business where it's so normal to have to pivot your business and that adaptability is really what makes either people who survive and thrive versus
Hmm.
people who get burnt out and just quit, right? And it's
Hmm.
like having that adaptability to be able to adapt to new circumstances. Like, hey, COVID, who could have predicted that, first of all? And then, secondly, like, what do you do with that? Because you're totally right. All these businesses closed down, and all the people that they paid closed down or had to
Hmm.
figure out something else to do. So, you worked a lot with local businesses and local restaurants. What's your clientele kind of look like now?
So we've evolved. So the beginning, we were serving fitness studios. Then we were serving. I had a real passion for women, moms specifically, because I was in a very not a very good situation. So I needed to make my own money to leave. So I felt really
Yeah,
passionate about helping moms who were in situations make money. So that was a big part of my story, helping women create their own businesses so they could make $100 or $1,000, whatever they needed.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and then now we still serve, most of our clients are making, we're kind of working with larger corporations now. So some
hmm
bigger realtors, medi spas,
hmm
people that have been in business for quite some time and they're making quite a bit of money. But I have,
yeah,
yeah, so our clientele has definitely changed.
yeah,
However, I still serve the women who are making, let's say, $100 a month through their handmade crafts or art
Mhm.
and pieces like that. We still have our marketing lounge is $84 for a year. So
Yeah.
we get to provide that service to people who are just in their startup stage. But our favorite client, to be honest with you, are people who have been in business for many years and know that they
Yeah.
need to do emails and things like that. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's much easier to work with people that like know what they're doing and know how to pass off the buck. I think that's the biggest thing. So, like, I had a marketing agency, and I found that working with entrepreneurs or solopreneurs was really challenging because a lot of times they didn't know how to delegate. They didn't know how to let people do what they're specialist at. You know what I mean? And so it was a real big challenge for me to work with somebody, and it's like, here's all the suggestions I'm giving you of what we need to do, and then the feedback of, well, I don't really want to do that, does that really work? And it's like, why are you hiring me if you're, you know if you've
you
got
know,
your own ideas?
I love hearing you say that openly and honestly. I haven't communicated that
We're a
enough
very blunt podcast here.
because, I'll give you a perfect example of this. So we do
Mhm.
have some startup companies. Like I said, I've got a soft spot for women
Yeah,
who are trying and, putting everything they can so that they can do what they can, like freedom. And
yeah,
just yesterday, I got a call from a client who is a startup, and I was like, "Oh boy, like here we go." And it gives me anxiety immediately. I'm like, "What's?" So then my
yeah,
therapist, like the psychology part kicks in, and anyways, I said, "We've only been doing this for 12 weeks, right? Like you've
yeah,
already had a handful of clients. You don't open your doors and then expect the world to make $1 million. Like I
yeah,
feel like that with the startups, I am constantly explaining that marketing is a long game.
yes,
And I'm constantly defending myself. Like,
yeah,
trust me, if we send out an email every week, we won't annoy people. We need to be in front of people. Trust me, if we do more reels, it's not going to saturate anything. It's going to be for the
yeah,
best.
yeah,
And it's also hard because with ROI, I'm sure you've experienced this, it's really hard to measure your return on investment in the first 6 months of marketing.
Yeah.
It's
Because it's
it,
all testing anyway for the, there's a lot of
and it,
testing that goes out and, figuring out what works and putting out a bunch of content, testing which ones did the best, putting
that's
more of that
right.
out there. Yeah.
And it's also like the client will say, "Oh, well, that person found me through that person." And it's like, "Well, no, that person found you, then stalked you, actually
Yes.
saw that you had a great website, that you had a great Instagram, that you had a great
Hmm.
TikTok, that you had a podcast. Then they decided they could trust you and hire you."
Yeah. Yes.
So although
Absolutely.
I love startups, I really do. I think that they should focus their energy on learning on their own, like doing courses, doing some of the things, doing the experimenting, and then saying, "Hey, marketing agency,
Mhm.
I'd love you to take this over because you're the best at it."
Yes. And that's what I love. Like this, this podcast is for moms. And right now we're doing the mompreneur sessions, which is a bunch of different episodes basically for mompreneurs. And that's why like I love this kind of message and being blunt and honest because in my opinion, you can't grow unless someone's willing to be honest with you, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and I think in business, it's really challenging because you have a lot of people that they want to make a lot of money, they want to do well, or they have these goals that they're looking at, but
Yeah.
you can't do that unless you're willing to grow. And growth is so uncomfortable and it's so hard and so painful a lot of the time, having to like admit, like, oh, maybe I'm not as good at this as I thought I was. Um, that can be hard for a lot of people. And so just having like these candid conversations. And when you were kind of going through your entrepreneur journey, what did that kind of feel like to you? What kind of moments came up that you felt like, oh wow, like I really have to like check myself because I know I've had those moments. Like,
Um, I have to check myself daily.
yeah.
Often every hour still, like even with,
Yeah.
10 years, it's like I still question myself. I still wonder what the heck I'm doing. I still look at other people's accounts and think like, "Oh shit, that person's doing way better than I'm doing."
Yeah.
Um, that person looks better on camera. That person does anyways. What I know to be true, like in my soul,
Mm-hmm.
there is no other option for me. This is it.
Yes. I
This is
love that.
this is I don't think about going and doing anything else. This is it. This is my passion. Whether I'm making 100 grand a month or a million
Mm-hmm.
dollars a month, I would do it. Or $100. There have been months like where
Mm-hmm.
I look and I'm like, oh my gosh, we are not making a lot of money this month.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I still, it's like, but what this is what I love. This is
Mm-hmm.
like my baby. This is
Yeah. Yeah.
I think like if you are a startup or in any position anywhere in your entrepreneur journey,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you check yourself. You're like, would I be doing this
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what I was making?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like to kind of go back a little bit. If you're open to talking about it, you mentioned that you were in a situation that you had to make your own money and leave. If you can kind of tell me a little bit about what that was like, and what kind of things you did to make money, how you kind of got the ball rolling, and what it was like getting to that whole entrepreneur journey with having kids and the whole
Yeah.
shebang.
So when I had my kids, I realized I was in a situation you don't know what you don't know. So this is what I'd like to share with everyone. You don't know if you're in a crappy, crappy situation
Mhm.
until you're way out of it and you're looking into it and you're saying, "Holy
Mhm.
crap, like that was not healthy, that was not good." So there was a lot of different things that were happening in my marriage. And
Mhm.
specifically, one of the things was, okay, you can't eat the food in the house because I bought it. So this was my partner saying, or my husband at the time, you can't eat the food because I bought it. So, but again, you're like living this life and it's not an immediate thing. It wasn't like when I married this human being, that's how it started, right?
Right. Yeah.
This gradual build up to then
Mhm.
nursing your kids, you don't need to have a bra. Like so I didn't have any money to go like buy a nursing bra. And I was like, oh, my dog's just a second.
That's okay.
So, you know, I was told, okay, we have to go to this gala. You don't need a bra.
Mhm,
You're fine. So I don't
mhm.
have any, and it's so silly because you're like, well, it's a bra. Like I need a bra, right? Maybe not everybody does, but I definitely needed a bra.
Yeah.
So it was like, don't eat the food. No, I'm not buying you a piece of clothing. No, I'm leaving for the weekend and I'm not really going to tell you where I'm going. And then all of these different situations. And I was like, I don't have any money. So I can't leave.
Mm,
I can't. So my eyes started to open and then I was like looking at these other people and other women and I was like, well, if she could do it, I could do it too.
mhm,
So I borrowed some money from my parents and said, I really want to do this course. And it was IIN, the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And I came up with this like business plan to present to my parents to say, like, look, if I do this, I know I can leave in 18 months. Like I just, and like imagine
mhm.
telling your parents and your parents just want to help you and they're like, well, you could leave today. But I was just so independent and so stubborn and didn't really see what was happening in my life.
Mm,
But I did this course, and yeah, I immediately said, okay, if I sell 10 packages at $100, that's $1,000. Like that's like a
yeah.
lot of money, right? So that's what happened. I put together a package. It was $100. I asked these people, I said, I will, bend over backwards for you. Um, and then, so I started with that, and I actually ended up like creating this little community, and I took every single person out
Mm,
for a coffee, which was like $1 at the time, not $12. And
yeah.
I took them out for a coffee and I sat there and I just listened to every single person that I could so that I could
Mhm,
build up this target audience in my head and know what
mhm.
their problem was. Because at the time I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
from there, it just kind of spiraled and I just trusted myself because that $1,000, that first $1,000 that you make
Mm,
is just this catalyst to
mm.
this whole world. It's like whoever you believe in, whether it's God or whoever, it was like, hey, this is going to be easy for you.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, they always say like one of the biggest things, like get the first win, like make that first win for your client as fast as possible so
Yeah.
they can see it and get that little taste and then be able to have that motivation to keep going.
Yeah.
And I agree. It's like once you make that first $1,000, it's like, oh my gosh, like this is $1,000,
Yeah.
And then as you grow, you're like, wow, $1,000 isn't that much. Now I'm making all this, but
And
yeah.
well, I think the important thing for me is I still like look at $1,000 and I'm like, holy shit, this is a lot. And I think like I want to always kind of live with that idea, like
Yeah.
that if a client is giving me $1,000, that's a lot of money for them. Like, regardless of
Mhm.
who you are, it can feed a lot of families. It can,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, your first win, and I learned from that first $1,000 that the key ingredient was treat people like people, and
Mhm.
they will buy anything from you, anything.
Yeah. Absolutely. It sounds like you've always been pretty because that's a great idea of just going out and, having a coffee with everybody, really getting to know your audience, so that you can market to them. So I would say you probably have been marketing inclined from the beginning.
Yeah,
Um,
and I did what
mhm.
you were sort of speaking to earlier is my partner at the time was at home at night. So
Mhm.
I was like waking up at 4 in the morning to, nurse my kids and then working my butt off till he got home at 6 p.m. Then I would
Yeah.
go out for coffee at
Mm,
6:30 till 10 p.m. and then I'd come home and nurse the kids and do the mom thing. So
yeah.
but I find what I often remind people of is that hustle doesn't last forever. It really
Mhm.
doesn't. It but it does have to happen. I think
Yes.
a lot of people want to skip that part.
Mhm.
I maybe it works for a lot of for people, but in my experience, you have to hustle. Like you have to cut the tree down, then chop the wood, and then you get
Yeah.
a fire. You don't just like, oh, there's the fire.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You have to put that hustle in because you also need that momentum to start,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of times, like, you can get one client randomly, right? And get all the luck in the world to get that one client, but then you have to get another one after that, and you have to get another one. And so if you really put in that hustle work in the beginning, you can get a group of clients, then you get good testimonials, you're getting referrals, you're really building that spinning wheel that works for you. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the one client turns into many if you can
Hmm.
serve them. And the thing that we have to remember if you're a startup, that one client, you might not make money. Like you might be kind of like, you're going to learn a lot from that
Yeah.
person. But that
Yeah.
one client can be that growth that you need. It'll be like the grass that
Mhm.
spreads. And if you can nurture it, if you can nurture that one client, water that relationship, um, we still have clients, like I said, Tracy, I did Tracy Mallett's Booty Bar when I first started, and
Mhm.
um, she's our client now. Like that wasn't my
Yeah.
intention when I did her course 10 years ago, 11 years ago. My intention was I want to be a fitness instructor and then did that.
Mhm.
Now it's like, oh, that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. And I think like leveraging networking, right, which is essentially what you're talking about, which is just getting to know people, connect with people on a human level. And then you're right, they'll know who you are. And like the foundations of all sales
Yeah.
is they buy from people they know, like, and trust. And
Mhm.
so the more people that know about you, the more people that like you, the more people that trust you, the more either they're going to buy from you, or when they hear of people that need something, they're going to refer you.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I agree. That's a great tip. And I think a lot of people too, it's like they start off thinking it's impossible to get to that point, or they don't know how to go about the hustle. So if you were to, talk to a mom who's in that situation and they're saying, I know I have to do that hustle, but like, what do I do? Like, I don't even know where to start. What would you say?
You have to treat it like a business, like a job, like that
Hmm.
I think that's the best way to look at your business and your freedom. If you're going to a job, you show up and you work from 9 to 5. Like, you work. So for your business, you really have to look at it and say, what am I working on today? And what are the hours that I'm working on it? Right? So
Hmm.
as a mom, you're kind of like, okay, I have to cook or not have to, sorry. I am a little bit okay, I've got responsibilities as a mother that I'd like to
Yeah.
follow through on, but if we're being blunt, women primarily carry the cooking, the cleaning,
Yeah.
the navigating kids' activities, all those things. Yes, do those, but I'm telling you, your
Hmm.
business is your freedom. So if you can hustle while your kids are little, like
Hmm.
this is like I don't talk a lot about my personal life as often as I used to, but I will share with you, like this last year, we've traveled 5 times. 5 times
Wow.
I was able to take the kids places, spend weekends fully just weeks disconnected from my business. But the only reason why I was able to do that this year is because when they were little, I did miss things, right? And I know that
Hmm.
that's crappy, but you know, I did the things I had to do when they were little so that I
Hmm.
can experience these big moments with them now. And
Yeah.
if you're starting and you're like, okay, but I don't even know how to hustle, I've never met a woman who doesn't make it work if she has to make it work.
Hmm.
So when a woman has to make it work, when she's like, I have to make this $1,000, no ifs, ands, like I have to, she'll do it.
Yeah.
So find what resonates with you. Like, do you have to make $100? You'll make it
Hmm.
work. But you have to treat it like a business. You can't kind of flip flop around with like, I'll work on it this week and then I won't work on it for 6 weeks, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I talk a lot about that too because I see a lot of times, moms will come to me and they're like, "Oh, like I don't know how you do it all." And like, first of all, I don't do it all, right? Like no mom does it all.
Yeah.
But, I've got four small kids at home and my oldest is 6. They're like really little.
You're
But
little.
like our day, like like you said, it's like I have to make this work because if I don't, then my husband's working constantly. And like I was kind of saying earlier, our goals is to retire my husband, which we're on track to do this upcoming year. And I'm super excited about. And but like the way that I have everything structured, I have a routine. I have these things that are kind of non-negotiables for me. Where like, do I want to do them? Do I want to like wake up every morning and go straight into my morning routine? I'd rather lay in bed. I'd rather, ease into my day. But if I
Oh,
do that, I'm denying myself and my family the future that we want, you
that's,
know?
yeah.
And so just getting up and like doing that and just doing what you know you have to do. And so like I know like with my personal schedule, I work about 4 hours every single day on my business. And then in the evenings, once my husband's home, that's when I can sit down and like work with clients because I don't want to be interrupted while I'm working with clients. Obviously, I want to be able to do a good job.
Yeah.
So, like personally with my schedule, we do like I have my morning routine, all the kids, everybody's set up by 10 a.m. So, like by 10 a.m., the homeschooling's been done, we've had breakfast, everything's cleaned up, the kids are set up, brush their teeth, brush their hair, everybody's ready. And I usually get up around 7. So, like, it's 3 hours and I just jam pack everything in. I don't do anything besides that. Get them all set up. And then they have like a free play. So I set usually my 18-month, I put her in like the jumper. So she's safe and contained and she just jumps around and plays. My 4-month-old, he still naps a lot or he likes to be in the little automatic
Yeah.
swing, so he'll do that. And then my 3-year-old and 6-year-old, they just play. Like they play together, or they'll watch a movie if we need to. If they're really having a difficult day, I'll put something on the TV. But for the most part, they just play in their dollhouse or whatever. And I'm in the adjacent room, so I've got a little bit of quiet and privacy, but still where I can still hear them and hop in if I need to. But I do 2-hour increments because I know my kids can do their own thing for 2 hours. Anything more than that, it starts to get dicey. But for 2 hours, I know they can do it. So I sit in here, I work for 2 hours on all my content, my actual business, and then after 2 hours, I go in there, we do a quick tidy up, we do lunch, clean up lunch, and then they go back into another 2 hours of play. I come back in here, do another 2 hours of work. And then after that, we go in there, clean up everything, do all our house chores for the day. They watch TV, I start dinner. My husband comes home, we all eat dinner. I have family time for like an hour. And then it's like, if I still have stuff, if I've got clients to work on, or if I have other things that I really can't wait till the next day, then I'll
Yeah.
have him watch them and I hop in the other room and just do that. But yeah, it's like you have to set up a system that works and you have to do it. Like
Yeah.
that's a pretty jam-packed day, but I do that every single day
Yeah.
because that's what it takes, right? It's like that's what it takes to move the needle forward and to get to where I want to be. And I know it's not forever. And I keep telling my husband, I'm like, as soon as he's retired from his job and he can help me in this, we'll be restructuring all of that and it'll look so different.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like right now it's like this is the system that we found works, and it did take a lot of trial and error to figure that out.
Yeah.
um
And
so when you were in the thick of it, like when you had kids, what did that kind of look like for you?
well, I just want to say like you've got it figured out. Like you're gonna retire your husband probably faster than you think because you
Yeah.
appreciate and understand that it's a it's a job. Being a parent is a job, being a business owner is a job, being a partner, a wife, um, whatever you do is a job, and you have to love all of them differently, right? And they all
Yes.
require different attention and they always change, right? So now your 2 hour increments, well, those might change to 40-minute increments soon, right? Like it might,
Yeah.
some things might change. When I was in the thick of it, I did a lot of baby wearing, like just basically baby wore both my kids all the time. But I
Yeah.
also, I want to say I kind of cheated, which is funny. But I'll tell you what I did because so when I opened my studio, um,
Mhm.
I actually was like, hey, I've got these two little kids. Like I can only baby wear one while I teach a Pilates class. What do I do with the other one? So I
Can we
used,
just pause for a second? You are a superwoman for baby care while teaching a Pilates class.
oh my gosh, I was so
That's
fit.
amazing.
Um, so I did cheat. I said, okay, what is the problem that moms have when they want to start working out? Childcare. Childcare
Mm-hmm.
is a huge issue. Plus,
Yeah.
they want that, they want the ability to be able to maybe stop and if their baby's crying and they've got breast milk everywhere, they have to feed their kid, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually hired somebody to come
Hmm.
in during each class that I was teaching to watch the kids, to watch other
Hmm.
people's kids. Um,
Oh,
so that my kids, one, had playtime and the experience with other kids, but also that they were being watched while I could make some money. And then the
mhm.
other parents, too, had their kids were in there too. So I feel like I kind of cheated a little bit because while I was at work, I
That's
had,
a wonderful idea, though. I love that.
and it was in my living room. So the studio was, we had this beautiful space down in the walkout, and then the kids were in the living space
Mhm.
with the nanny. So I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then that kind of became part of my business model.
Hmm.
So when I was coaching and selling products and traveling, I was like, okay, well, I'm just always going to have this childcare around me that quote unquote our clients are paying for
Yeah.
so that I can have time and space. But when I was in the thick of it, it was like, I remember laying in my son's crib on
Yeah.
my phone trying to like make sure, when you move and the kid wakes up, on my phone responding to in the crib. Like I have full pictures of,
Yeah.
and some of it I forget because I was like, holy crap, like how did we do it?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
How do you do it? But you just do. And like I said, when a woman needs to make it
Hmm.
work, when she's got that vision, you're just gonna do it. You're gonna like maybe skip a few meals. Or
Yeah.
I also think too, like having a community. I created this really strong community with our fitness studio, like really strong community of women. Um, we just helped each other. It was just really beautiful.
Hmm.
It was like this great group of women who would help each other. And yeah, so I don't remember a lot of like how I did it. I just did it. But
Hmm.
now, so fast forward where you are to where I am, where the kids are 13 and 10. My morning starts, I wake up at 5 and I do a little bit of work on my phone so that I don't wake anybody up. And then I get everybody up at 7. I cook breakfast. I make lunches for everyone and my partner. And then I drive the kids to the bus at 8:10. I get home at 8:15. I set,
That's nice. Yeah.
no matter what I do, I set a timer for 22 minutes and I clean because
Hmm.
like you're saying about, I would sometimes like to ease in my day, but if I ease into my day, that's it. I'm easing the whole day.
Right. Yes. I'm the same way.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
this 22-minute timer for some reason
Mhm.
is a lifesaver for me. I clean, I tidy, and then I have breakfast myself, and that's like my quiet time. And then I start
Mhm.
working. So I start working at about 10 a.m. and I work till 3.
Mhm.
And I pick the kids up at 3:30-ish. And then usually now that they're older, from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock, they're in activities or something, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
My day has to stop at 3 o'clock so I can serve my family the
Mhm.
best I can. And we eat a home cooked meal every night. It was something that I was
Mhm.
really passionate about from day one. Um, and then yeah, and then I don't work in the evenings anymore. So you're like you work
Yeah.
in the evenings. I about a few years ago, I just couldn't do it anymore. My creativity,
Yeah.
my headspace was not there. So I'm like, ask me to do something at 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
You're getting shit work. Like,
Yes.
so
Yes.
so my day is very different from yours now, but
Mhm.
you know, they were about 18-hour days before.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, and a lot of that too is like where you're at in life too. It's like, and you've got older kids. I don't want to say it's easier because there's different challenges, of course, but
Yeah.
for the most part, they're more self-sufficient. So you can leave them for longer periods of time. You can do stuff without having to worry about that. Um, and then yeah, it's like as your business grows and you've got more goals and you've got more stuff coming in, you can outsource more things. So there's lots of things you can do to reclaim that time as well.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a huge part too. So like, I know like one of the first things that I'm super excited we're going to be starting pretty soon is like having someone come in and help with the cleaning. So
Mhm.
having a cleaning lady that's going to come in like once a month or once every other week and just
Yep.
kind of do a nice deep clean. So what are some of the things that you've outsourced throughout the years?
Yeah, I love hearing you say that because so I'm rewinding my memories and going back.
Yeah.
I'm excited to share this. So that nanny was the first form of outsourcing, having someone
Mhm.
in the house to watch the kids while I was teaching, but also to watch the kids of the clients. So that was
Yeah.
my first hire. And then because I was teaching so many classes and I started hiring other instructors for to
Mhm.
teach. So it was also a way of outsourcing. I was like, wait a minute, I don't care if I don't make any money.
Mhm.
So outsourcing and having people teach. Then I had support in the house. I actually hired a nanny for mostly me, to be honest with you. I was like, wait, I need some support around. No, they helped with the kids, so doing school drop off, school pickup.
Mhm.
And I want to share the evolution in full so that people can see like the scope and the ebbs and flows of business because I thought, oh, well, it's always going to be like this.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, no. Then I started doing like good fresh or good food box, like meal prep boxes. Um, because it's just overwhelming and it was actually like quite affordable at the time to do that.
Mhm.
Um, then I hired a project manager who was also my best friend. So she was managing the classes, managing the courses, managing the people. Um,
Mhm.
and then we ran teams, so we had some support there. But for my house, it was the nanny who was supporting me and
Mhm.
supporting, and they are like some of my closest friends. I love them. I still connect with them years
Yeah.
later. One of them has her own kids now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But um, the other one, I've been trying to hire her again for work. I'm like, you're so good at this. You need to do this. Anyways, then then it came to a point where I had somebody coming in weekly to help with laundry and cooking and
Mhm.
cleaning. But what happened was I started to actually feel very disconnected from my own life,
Mhm.
from I started to think if I don't have time to clean my own bathroom, I'm too
Mm.
busy. It
Yeah.
was this I'm too busy. It's not good. It's yes, it's a beautiful thing to have support with the house, but the reason why I started the business was to have freedom to create my own
Yeah.
life. And so there was like this mindset pull of like, okay, you have this great support, but is this really what you want? So that's when everything started to change. I left my partner. Um, I got I moved to a trailer with no water, no electricity. I kind
Mhm.
of left. I left the situation I was in and started
Mhm.
over. And now what I do all my cooking, all my cleaning, and I have a beautiful team of people that work on all the marketing because I'm like, to me, this time in my house with my kids and being there for school pickup and school drop off is the most important thing to me right now. In a few
Mhm.
years, might change again. Do I travel for work? Only once every quarter at the most. And I was traveling every weekend before because I was like,
Yeah.
I gotta make money. I have to do this. So,
Yeah.
but the number one thing that has come with me at every stage of my business is I have always hired some type of support, always.
Mm.
Like I have never tried to do it on my own. I had the nanny, I had a team, I had a project manager. I have a great team now. It's just impossible to do it all on your own. And when you do it all on your own, you don't actually y- you can't increase your income when
Yeah.
you're trying to stay on the wheel, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. They talk about that a lot where it's like, you can only do so much with your time. You only have so much time in the day.
Mhm.
And as the business owner, your time is supposed to be the most valuable, right? And so eventually the goal is to, hire people that can take on some of those tasks so that you can do more income producing activities, right? And you can do the things that move the needle forward and are innovative and thinking and helping the business to adapt to new circumstances and all of those different things, because if you're too busy in the day to day of your business,
Yeah.
then you can't focus on the overall mission of your business, the overall goal of your business, and, moving that business forward through time.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
my income generating, like, because we have this great team, my
Hmm.
my purpose right now is actually not to grow the business, it's to grow my family. It's
Mm,
to be here and take care of, we've got a garden and we've got basically
yeah.
a little homestead. So you're in your business, you will go through these ebbs and flows where I want to make a lot of money, I want to do this, I want to pay for this. Where I'm at right now is I absolutely am in this beautiful space in my head and my body where I get to spend time with my partner, I get to travel. Do I want
Hmm.
to grow the business right now? Honestly, not really. I like
Hmm.
doing the I like my marketing lounge for $84 like for the year. That's where I can serve still. Is it producing a lot of income for me? Not really. But
Yeah.
but can I serve the people who really helped me start like 10
Mm,
years ago? Yes. So I love hearing you say that, like that, the income producing and the as the business owner, but for each individual, that income generator is going to look different. It could be that you're doing
mhm,
private coaching and that is your money maker, or it could be that you're making meals every single day for your family and that is your
mhm.
heart-centered approach right now. So I think,
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel this, but there is a lot of pressure on women
Hmm.
right now, more than I think there was before, to and it's because of social media, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, where's your perfect Christmas tree? Hey, show us how many grams of protein are you
Yeah.
getting? Hey, where are your kids? What are they doing? Are they tablet free? Are they homeschooled? Are they not homeschooled? What about your
Yeah.
partner? It's a lot. So I think we have to focus on what is my income generator? What,
Mm,
what is going to fill my bank account
yes.
and
Hmm.
not trying to worry what Sarah's doing making $1 million right now.
Yeah. I love that too, because you're absolutely right. It's, when is enough enough?
That's
And everybody has to figure that out for themselves, where it's like, what are your actual goals in having a business? Because for everyone, it's not going to be having millions of dollars, right?
yep.
And for most of us, it probably won't be that. It's like you just want to live comfortably and be able to, like you said, be there with your family and retire your spouse so your family can be a family together. It
Yeah.
absolutely breaks my heart when my kids every single day, like clockwork, wake up upset because their daddy's gone for work.
Oh,
It's like breaks my heart every single day. And I'm like, but to me, it's like that's the driving motivator. Like, okay, like pretty soon that won't be a thing anymore. Like he'll be home with us and he can help me and we can,
yeah.
get to that next stage that we're trying to get at and my family can be together and, do all those things. And so that's going to look different for everybody where it's figuring out what are the goals, what is the lifestyle you want,
Yes.
and getting clear on that vision. Like I do exercises like that all the time. So I like to do like a vision map essentially. So you take the different major components of your life, your relationships, your income, your day to day, your environment, all those different things, map out kind of like where you're at now versus where you want to be. And a lot of times, and then I do like reverse engineering goal setting. That's
Yeah.
how I work.
Oh,
um,
totally. I love it.
yeah. But it helps you, like, it helps really map out, like, okay, this is where I want to be. How do I get there? And what's a reasonable time frame to get there? Because I think a lot of times we think of stuff and we're thinking, oh, that's like 10 years into the future. But when you reverse engineer it, it's like, well, if I just do this every single day, I can actually get there in like half the time. Or sometimes we think like, oh, if I just do this, then I can get this. But once you reverse engineer it, you're like, oh, I really got to stick to it a little bit longer. My
Totally.
expectations aren't quite aligned. Um,
And it's good
yeah,
to be it's good to be a dreamer. It really is. Like, okay, I can
yeah,
reach if you, let's say you're in your first year of business, first month, and you're like, I'm gonna hit $10,000. It's good to be a dreamer. It really is. However, when you start sitting down and breaking it up and you're like, how many people, how many hours, how many
mhm,
products? You're like, ooh,
yeah,
I don't think it can really be there. So
yeah. And then you
it's
start like analyzing the data. Okay, I'm having how many conversations? What percentage am I actually closing for, sales with? And then And then you start to figure out like, okay, if I'm closing, if this is my close rate and this is my package, how many people do I have to talk to a day to get to where I want to be? There's so many different components in that. But just
Absolutely.
being real about it, I think, is super important, because a lot of times people just assume like, oh, if I just do it, it'll happen. It's like, no, you have to have a strategy and a plan in place.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the strategy is going to look different, like for you and where I'm at. Like where I'm at right now, my strategy is I want to be gentle with myself for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
And as my daughter is in her teenage years, like there's things that I have to be really aware of. And then my son, I want to just be here. But at the same time, I also, want a bigger greenhouse. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
definitely want a hot tub or a sauna. So it's funny when you're like, okay, I want all these things. I really do. But
Mm-hmm.
do I have it in me in 2025 to
Mm.
get there? I don't actually, I need to take care of my health again. I spent the last few years
Yeah.
just like being a pretty bad person to my own health. So
Yeah.
mentally and physically, um, I was beating myself up pretty bad about some things. So now I'm like, 2025, I'm going to just do the basics again, which feels really
Mm.
good.
Yes.
And, when you talk with your clients, again, when we
Mhm.
talk about the startups and them listening to you, I'm like, I could tell you how to get to where you want to get. Like, I could literally show you, but you have
Yeah.
to be willing and open
Mhm.
to look at, are you are you okay? Like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you supported? Are you going to be able to have a few nights where you don't really sleep that well?
Mhm.
That's what it's all about, and it's unfortunate. But like I say, women, we have a lot of pressure on a like more than before, I believe.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. And I saw something recently and I thought it was great. So um I'm a Christian, so like my mindset has always been like, God comes first, and then, my husband and children, and then my business, and I have a list of priorities. And so that's why, like, to me the non-negotiables are taking care of my kids, like that comes number
Yep.
one, making sure we have spiritual practices in our home, and then after that is running the business. And so like I totally agree, you have to take care of yourself. And I heard something recently and it really stuck with me, which was you need to put your health even above, God or any of these other things. And at first it's like, wait a second, what are you talking about? But the reality is like without your health, can you even rely on your support? Can you even, like you can't do any of those things that you need to do. And so I 100% agree. Like taking care of yourself is number one, because if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not having enough protein, what happens if you're sick? You can't do anything. What
Yeah.
happens if you're exhausted all the time? You can't do anything, right? If you've got no discipline, you're not going to have the discipline to grow a business. So
Yeah.
like working on yourself and getting yourself into being the type of person that can be successful, I think is like the top thing that I would recommend for anybody who wants to have a business, which is really focus on getting healthy and
Mhm.
building positive habits and discipline, because that's what's going to help you like get to that success later on. So what do you
Oh,
think about something like that?
I could I really appreciate that because the first few years of my business, I was in fitness and health, and my business was doing so well. It was
Yeah.
like no matter what came to me, my mindset, my mentally I was healthy, physically I was
Mhm.
healthy. Obviously, I think the two align pretty
Mhm.
closely. When I was going through my stuff, physically I wasn't well, mentally I wasn't well, everywhere it just was not good.
Mhm.
Shift to this last year where I've like, okay, Megan, drink some water.
Mhm.
Get
Yeah.
some sleep, have a nap. Hey, go in the garden, put your phone down. Things are doing better. Things are coming together. So it's hard. Like I have a friend here and she's got a little 18-month-old and she's like, "Well, I just can't go to the gym." And I was like, "I get it. I totally understand." But put your phone down then. Like just or set that timer for 90
Yeah.
seconds and like just walk around the house or something because it is so important. And when I'm not taking care of myself, I'm grumpy, I'm mean,
Mhm.
I'm not creative. I see
Mhm.
everything as like, what is this person doing? Why are they doing?
Right. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
And then as soon as I start moving my body and eating like a vegetable or two, I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
this is wonderful. Oh, yeah, of course we can. So it's, just, and it's little things. About 12 weeks ago, I started drinking more water, setting that
Hmm.
timer, having some collagen, having some vitamins, back to my prayer every morning, like just things that
Hmm.
I had completely let go of. And you could see the numbers reflect in my business as well. It's kind of funny. And
Yeah.
now it's like, oh, everything's easier again. So
Yeah.
it's so important to take care of yourself. And when you can't take care of yourself, I think that's time to look at, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
What's taking my energy? Like what is really on my plate that is all chocolate? Like just
Mm.
get rid of it.
Yeah. I love that. And I love the tip about just setting a timer. I used to do that during my last pregnancy because I was like, I need to be more active.
Yeah.
And it was challenging because like, all right, you got three kids, you're running a business and doing all these different things. I was like, how am I going to squeeze in active time? And somebody actually had mentioned that to like just set a timer and just like move your body for that time. Like that's it. I was like, all right, cool. And so I would literally just like walk in place and like move, stretch out my arms while I'm walking. Like I looked like an idiot, but I
It's
got
okay.
moving. It felt great, and I did it for 30 minutes every single day. And over time, it was funny because what happened was I started getting my energy back. I started, even though I was pregnant, like I shouldn't have been getting more energy, but I was like getting my energy back. I was feeling so much better. And I started going into those sessions being like, I can do more than this now. Like, I don't need to just sit here and walk in place and stretch my arms. Like, I'd put on yoga routines and I'd do like actual like stretch, like exercising with weights and stuff like that. And I was like, I can actually like, I have the energy now to do more. And I was in the headspace because now I had built up that habit over time of being ready to do stuff like that for 30 minutes.
Yep.
And huge game changer. So I just had a baby like 4 weeks, 4 months ago. And
Nice.
that was a C-section, and the whole healing was so much worse than my other ones.
I
So, but
bet.
I'm
Yeah.
just now getting into the point where I'm like, I need to get back into that habit because it was so good for me. And yeah, I took a break after that, obviously, because for healing purposes. But
Yeah.
now I'm like, need to get back into it. It's been 4 months. There's no excuses now.
Well, I mean, that's only 16 weeks. 16 weeks is not very long. Like
All
your
right.
body carried, plus you've had your kids, like
Yes,
you've
very
been
back to back.
producing,
Yeah.
you've been producing babies like some people produce launches. They're like,
Right.
okay, let's go. It's so funny.
I know.
Um,
I was gonna say the last two were in the last 2 years. I'm like, they were almost Irish twins. They were 14 months apart. So it's like, yeah. But
that's intense. Well, good for you for like growing your business and growing your family and still
mhm,
like holding on to your vision. Like I can feel it with you. You've got that. I have to make this work. Like I have to make this
mhm,
work. And you're going to come from a place of service and love.
mhm,
And I think that's what everybody has to remember. And I think
mhm.
surround yourself with people like that. And that'll also, just like the exercising and movement, like when we're around people who have the same faith and the same perspectives and who hold
Yeah.
on to visions, it really helps us grow. Because you'll find in your entrepreneur journey, like when you meet somebody and they're just a negative Nancy,
Mm,
you can, depending on where you are, you can also be like, oh yeah, you're right.
yeah. Oh,
So
yes.
I like to go, okay, the positive polys when I'm like, okay, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not the toxic positivity, but the mindset.
Having that equal balance. Yeah.
That's right, that growth mindset. Like, okay, you're gonna
Mhm.
have times where you just have to sleep because you've got a 4-month-old. Like it's just
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like, hey, client, we might have to wait a week.
Yeah.
All
I
my
don't
kids.
schedule anything before noon on Saturdays. That's my sleep in, have coffee, be relaxed. My
Nice.
husband's home. He's with the kids all morning. I get to sleep.
That is beautiful. Yeah. I miss the sleep in days. I don't know how old you are, but I feel like I'm at the point in my life I like can't sleep in at all. It's like, oh,
Well,
it's 5.
I say my husband's like that because he wakes up, he leaves for work at like 5:30 every morning. So he's up at like 4:30. So he just automatically wakes up at that time every single morning. So like he's up on Saturday. I'm like, I can still sleep in. So if if you're here, you take the kids, I'll sleep in a little bit.
It's nice.
But yeah.
Sleeping in is like a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You're like,
But it's funny, like you said, like how that changes over time. Like, for me, sleeping in is sleeping like till like 8:30. Like that's not really sleeping in, but that's sleeping in for me because normally we're up by 7.
yeah.
But just getting a little extra hours. But it's funny because like I'll talk to people who don't have kids and they're like, oh, it's sleeping in till like 10. I'm like,
Yeah, right.
that's your whole morning. What are you
Well, and I've never been, I don't know if you read a lot, but there's like a whole philosophy around the 5 a.m. club. I am not a fan of the
doing?
5 a.m. club. I don't want to wake up
Mm,
at 5 a.m. and like rush to the gym. I am
yeah.
a fan of like, okay, 5 a.m. I can get stuff done while nobody's talking to me
Yes.
or clients aren't messaging me. But
Mhm.
if I'm like yesterday, I was up at 5 a.m. I did go to the gym and everything. I was in bed last night at 8:15. I could
Yeah.
not, I told my partner, I was like, I have to go to bed. He's like, it's 8 o'clock. I was like,
Right.
I can't keep my eyes open. So
Yeah.
even if, yeah, sleep is a funny thing.
Yeah.
Sleep is like business. It's always changing.
Oh, yes. So, if you had any piece of advice that you would give to our audience, what would that piece of advice be?
Oh, that's a big question. Um, I know this sounds really cheesy, but really anything's possible. Like we have to hold
Mm,
that is the truth. Anything is possible. Like if you want to start a business, you can start a business. If you want to expand the business, you can expand the business. If you want to make $1 million, you can make $1 million. Like the sky is the limit and anything's possible. Anything's possible when you put the work in.
yeah, I love that. And if people are looking to connect with you, where can they go to find you? We'll also make sure we put the links in the description as well.
Sure, you can find me at Megan Moore Marketing on Instagram, or you could just search it on the internet and you'll find it. But Instagram is usually where we hang out the most, and you can kind of get an insight. Or our blog, we have lots of good resources on there. So, or my
Mhm.
garden. If you're in the neighborhood, you can come find me. Except for right now, it's snowing a bunch. But
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you for being on the show.
thank
We
you.
appreciate it. This was an awesome episode, and I'm super excited to put it out there.
Thanks for having me.